Okay, this is my 7th reflection for 586. The point I'm at right now is I think I've pretty much accumulated most, if not all, the sources that I need at this point, or will need, unless I get some feedback from anyone who takes a look at my paper and I need to fill in some gaps. But at this point I've written a rough draft of my lit review, and I started off with an introduction to the topic of using the internet for social studies instruction, and I tried to communicate the importance. Started off by communicating the importance of social studies and how the internet expands the potential for it. And then I did a lot of research on teaching history through historical inquiry. So I was able to find some research on that, and explained the outcomes of some studies done on historical inquiry and why it can benefit students. And then I did research on technology enhanced social studies, and I did a review of all the different studies that have been done on internet use in the social studies classroom, and I was able to write about 3 or 4 themes that all the studies can really be categorized into. And then from there I put those two topics together and wrote about how the internet can be and focused in on how the internet can be used for digital history or online historical inquiry and the potentials for that, some of the results of the studies of blending those two topics together. And then my last section that I researched and wrote about was the limitations and the barriers that teachers still face in using the internet for historical inquiry. And I was able to write a few pages just on that alone. And I think that's really where I should focus on in my own study that I can conduct. And it's kind of a topic that I'm interested in as well, and trying to figure out why teachers aren't using this method more than they are now. And I have my own reasons why I think this, but it would be an interesting study, I think, to put together. So that's where I'm at right now. My next step is to think about what specifically can I do now to implement a study in my own classroom so that I can create or write my master's thesis. And what I've been learning through this whole process, the one thing is I've looked at sources or citations within articles a lot differently now than I used to. I admittedly oftentimes just ignored them or skipped over them, didn't really pay close attention to them, but now I am looking at those sources, taking a closer look at who the authors are, trying to notice patterns, trying to recognize names, and try to see what kind of source it is, whether it's a primary or secondary source, and trying to evaluate the authenticity of each source within the articles that I read. So definitely looking at that in a different way. So it's been a good process, and hopefully I can get some good feedback tonight on changes that I have to make for my lit review.